Welcome back, everybody, to New York. 2 minutes left with the New England Patriots on the clock. They have 2 of the next 5 picks. They have 10 picks, which is tied with a few other teams as the most in the draft. They don't have a second, but they have a bunch of 6. But the big news is they have 2 first-round picks. Mel, let's just look at the board for value and the guys you think should go next. If you just pick it on grade.
No question, Greg Olsen, once he ran that 4.48, 4.5 flat at 6'5", 255. I know his blocking needs to improve. He had a shoulder injury early on. He's going to get in a weight room and get stronger. Ben Grubbs, I think, is one of the best football players. 17th overall on the big board. Heck of a pure guard. Joe Staley, a left tackle, the 18th best player still available at this point. David Harris has moved way up. An inside linebacker was productive, then had huge workouts. And Anthony Spencer, as I said, my candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year. You want a pass rusher from the defensive end spot or a 3-4 team that you could maybe put on his feet like a Adalius Thomas. He would fit the bill. That's a good group of 5 players still available.
And Bill, usually when push comes to shove, would rather go defense than offense. I'd have to look at it. I don't know that he's ever picked a linebacker in the first round, although that would certainly, as you say, fit the bill. But Spencer's an interesting player who's there as well. And hey, look, this is a team, as we said, that is not that far off from being defending Super Bowl champs. We told you the players that they've signed.
And they're using all their time on the clock here, which is interesting because, you know, if somebody wants Greg Olsen, the Miami tight end,
yes.
Looking at Carolina picking behind him, this is a spot where you say, you know, New England's always willing to trade. This is a spot where somebody could say, hey, let's go jump in front of Carolina and get Greg Olsen. It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, time for them to get it too, which they don't have. But, I mean, New England, the big pickup in the free season is Adalius Thomas. And they fell in love with him at the Pro Bowl. He's a guy that, here it is, the pick is on its way up. A couple of years ago, they had 2 first-round picks, and they picked Vince Wilfork and Ben Watson. Ben Watson still is yet to boom, but I think this could be a year. And Vince Wilfork is a force.
Couple receivers. Their receivers got 1-year deals that they signed, basically, so they can pick a receiver in this slot.
Right.
There's some other things with New England, just as we catch up on them. And Junior Seau definitely retired. Remember, he actually played pretty well. He isn't ruled out next year. Troy Brown, could he come back? But Methuselah for the Pats? Yes, he might. Rodney Harrison signed and ready to play. So that gets into some of the names that you might wonder about. Let's go to the podium and get the first of 2 picks for New England.
With the 24th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Brandon Merriweather, safety, Miami.
Well, that's a little bit different for reasons we've been discussing. Brandon Merriweather, safety, Miami.
Miami safety who didn't have a huge year. I think when you look back early in his career, was a guy that had a higher grade, leveled off. Of course, there were a lot of distractions. The team at Miami had to deal with an awful lot of adversity this year. Obviously, Larry Coker moves on, Randy Shannon in for next season, but a guy who has a ton of ability. This season, I didn't think he performed up to that level, but you got a guy who certainly has coverage ability, missed some open field tackles, didn't look as aggressive at the Senior Bowl as I thought he would be in some of those practices, but the talent is there if he can reestablish himself as a real force in that secondary. And obviously, New England's going to coach him up. He's with a team that's going to win a lot of football games. Brandon Merriweather has talent. It's just that I think he needs to put it back all together. I didn't think going into the year, you'd have thought he'd have been a top 15 pick. After the year, you thought second round. So New England is rolling the dice that he can revert back to his old form.
Well, we know what he can do, but here's another piece of video that's going to be played. And this is, of course, that Miami-Florida international brawl where there's Merriweather there, and he was involved. I mean, that. What do you say? A picture's worth 1,000 words? Those words aren't great.
And this is a team, the New England Patriots, that can feel comfortable enough taking him if you've done your work on him. I talked to some teams that got comfortable with him because not only was there that video where he stepped on somebody's head, he had a situation with a handgun in which there was a shooting. Everybody, I think, knows about the incident, and that bothered some people. But, you know, I heard one team said, hey, it was a handgun, he owned it, it was registered, it was stored, all those things. We're comfortable with the kid. The Bengals couldn't have taken this guy. the New England Patriots felt comfortable enough to take
And you go back to the stability of the organization. This organization is as stable as anybody in the league, and they believe they can take somebody, bring him into the culture of the Patriots, and they can not just rehab, but they can take troubled guys and turn them around. Now, that's not necessarily the case with Corey Dillon, other names, other issues, but I do believe that they feel they're so stable we can make a chance here.
And they, like I spoke about earlier, they have a veteran team. They have leaders on that football team. So they don't have to worry about whatever character issues or red flags is out there about this individual. He is a hell of a football player. He can really play the game the way it needs to be played.
And they're addressing needs. You know, we don't, Rodney Harrison, we don't know. He got hurt for the second straight year. You mentioned that earlier, Boomer.
Well, yeah, and that's an area where they're a little thin. Remember, they have another pick and a few more. So let's go up to Trey Wingo and the guys in Bristol. Trey?
All right, Boomer, thanks very much. As we continue this discussion of character with Brandon Merriweather, we should point out the incident against Florida International was not the only flag on his resume. There was the shooting incident. He returned fire at a man who had just shot at his roommate. By the way, the police said he did use the gun legally there, but there is a gun issue as well as the stomping on the field. Michael, how much do you think that hurt him in this draft process, falling to New England?
I think his talent far outweighed their minor concerns about his character. You look at the fight against FIU, they chalked that up to the heat of battle. He was on the field, loyalty to a teammate, if you will. And then you talk about the gun incident. Yes, that was poor judgment, but as Trey mentioned, it was legal. The thing about this guy, they're not just addressing one need at safety, but two needs. What they call the star position at nickel corner inside is a spot that they needed help on. Ellis Hobbs, in those situations, moves inside. They bring another guy outside. Ellis Hobbs, not the best guy playing at nickel corner covering slot receivers. Brandon Merriweather is versatile, and you know that's a key word with Bill Belichick. He's versatile enough, talented enough, and smart enough to do that. The need for those two positions, safety and nickel corner, his talent far outweighed their concerns, which they signed off on.
What did I say earlier? If it's a flag that's not waving and it's not that big a deal, people are going to take them if they can help you win. Yeah, but you know what? We're going a one-time incident in both cases. They weren't repeat with a gun and weren't repeat on the field. Now, what Brandon Merriweather did on the field against Florida International was Bush League. But that being the case, you look at it and say, you know what? On the field, heat of battle, getting into it. I believe that the New England Patriots, and I agree with Steve Young completely, that with Bill Belichick and with Scott Pioli, I think there's almost a fear factor when people come there. I don't know when the last time a guy with a character problem left New England that had a character problem. They may get rid of guys that they don't like because they don't think they can play anymore, but when it comes to character, I think that Bill Belichick has a fear factor that hovers over him, says you're going to do it my way or you're not going to come here. I don't think it's going to be an issue because Belichick will loom large with this. I think it's a good pick.
I totally agree with you. I do think it's a good pick, and I think Belichick's such a leader that he gravitates that towards players, and they come to this organization knowing that they're going to set their bad ways straight in the right direction. But the bottom line is everybody talks about this is a team with veteran leadership. No, this is a team with Super Bowl veteran leadership, and that carries a lot of weight with players coming into this program. When a Tom Brady sits you down, with any player on this football team, a Tom Brady sits you down, Vrabel sits you down and says, this is the Patriot way. We accept nothing else because we're here to win championships. That's what really opens up a lot of players' minds.
Can I borrow one of those Super Bowl rings?
Had your chance. By the way, Merriweather quoted as saying, I was a leader and I should have known better. Patriots, of course, have another pick. See where they go there. But right now, it is the Carolina Panthers because of that trade with the Jets. They are on the clock. Of course, we're employing a Panther right now. Might they take a wide receiver? Oh, Keyshawn would be upset.
Now get all your favorites in one box. Introducing the new Variety Big Box from KFC. Popcorn chicken, a crispy strip, a drumstick, mashed potatoes, coleslaw, a biscuit, and a large drink. Fill up on all your favorites at KFC.
So DirecTV's got this super fan business that lets you watch 8 NFL games on one screen. If I watch all the games on Sunday, what am I going to read about in the John on Monday?
Sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket today and get Superfan for free.
We do have a commercial sighting. Copy that, black SUV. We do have a vision.
Introducing the all-new Dodge Nitro. Careful, it's Nitro Active. Now get an all-new Dodge Nitro for just under 20 grand. Discover America's hottest products at your Dodge dealer.
Hot soup, $4. medicine, $11. Blanket, $24. Making it all better. Priceless. With PayPass on your MasterCard, just tap and go.
If you're a man over 50, it's time to take the Avodart quiz. Are you always going? Do you have trouble going? Are you going at night? Maybe you think you have a going problem. But what if it's a growing problem? What if it's not your bladder, but instead you have an enlarging prostate? 50% of men over 50 do. And you may be able to do something about that going and growing with Avodart. Most medicines only treat symptoms. Avodart, with time, actually shrinks the prostate and improves urinary symptoms. Only your doctor can tell if your symptoms are from an enlarged prostate and not a more serious condition, such as prostate cancer. So have regular prostate exams. Avodart is for men only. Women should not take or handle Avodart due to the risk of a specific birth defect. Tell your doctor if you have liver disease. Rarely sexual side effects, tenderness, or swelling of the breast can occur. Have you called your doctor? Avodart, for your growing problem.
No.
What about the linebacker? What about?
Let me look.
Harris.
Discuss that with him.
Anyway,
certainly could.
Yeah, I got to believe it's going to be the linebacker.
We're back in New York. Moments ago, Carolina on the clock in the original Jet spot, the trade that they had made earlier. Thank you, Mr. Roger Goodell, with Keyshawn Johnson's Carolina Panthers. And here was the pick.
It's a good pick. I like it. I like it a lot.
With the 25th pick in the first round of the 2007 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select John Beeson, linebacker, Miami.
So 2 in a row defensive players from Miami. By the way, a moment ago when Merriweather went, we've never had 4 safeties go in the first round of the draft. Mel, John Beeson to Carolina. Remember, Morgan's had injury problems.
Yeah, an intangibles guy, always been viewed as a great leader on this football team. Certainly a guy that, when you look back 2 years ago, I thought had a very good year. Was more productive in terms of stats this year. Wasn't necessarily overwhelmed by his performance at Miami, but hey, there was a lot of things going on with that Miami program. Only ran a 4.77 at the combine. That kind of red flag went up there, saying, hey, he's not as fast as we thought he would be. But I'll tell you, a guy that does have the ability to make plays, does a good job in coverage. You could say he's complete. I just would have liked to see more impact plays this year and a better 40 time, but overall, at this point in the first round, you can't argue.
But I think he had some knee, tweaked his knee, maybe a little back issue there when he was running those 40 times in the offseason on tape. The evaluator said this guy can play football. And yes, he mentioned Dan Morgan. Remember, Dan Morgan, former University of Miami linebacker, who was a first-round pick by the Panthers, missed the entire season last year because of concussion problems. They had to address linebacker at some point in this draft. There is uncertainty about Morgan.
University of Miami's had a history of having good linebackers in the National Football League. So this pick for me, I really like it. I really do, because of the issues that Dan Morgan's had. We lose Chris Draft, so this gives us the ability to stop the run and also rush the passer.
Dan Morgan was, well, I mean, he had his days before you were there, but man, I remember what championship game against Philadelphia is on the clock now. What, 18, 19 tackles? I mean, that would be a big miss.
And the year that I got there, they lost Witherspoon, so we also need to try to replace some of that.
You mentioned former Miami linebackers. You're alluding to Ray Lewis, who went, I think, didn't Ray Lewis go about 25? 24. Right about 24, 25 this area. So, yeah, if you pick a Miami linebacker, you got a chance to hit on a player.
The Carolina Panthers a couple of years removed from the Super Bowl. Then just a year ago, when the championship game fell back to 8-8 last year. But you have what it takes to get back in the playoffs, Keyshawn?
I think we do. If we can keep Jake healthy and we can do some things offensively and stop the run, I think our secondary will get better. We obviously have to address maybe the safety somewhere later on in the draft, and I think they'll do that. But I think they're putting the team together to really make a run.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think internally they do feel better about Jake Delhomme than maybe the speculation. But they bring on David Carr. Isn't that put pressure on Delhomme? Is it Carr's job to steal?
We all got somebody behind us. We all have somebody looking over our shoulder, and I think Jake understands that. He knows that he had a problem with his health. And if he gets healthy, then I think we can make the plays for him. The running game gets better. We're going to have a hell of a job.
Chris Winkie, the former backup, didn't win games. You guys might have made the playoffs had he won those games when Jake was out.
We were that close to making the playoffs, and Coach Fox kept preaching that to us all year long.
All right, well, while we're discussing Carolina, very interesting trade partners here. Philadelphia, I think they were looking at Merriweather among other players. They've just made a trade with Dallas.
Whoa.
Which is just interesting, to say the least.
You would expect that there would be a pretty good value on the Philadelphia side to make that trade, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be something.
Dallas coming up to take a number 1 pick. Okay, what are you going to give us? So Philadelphia,
one of the few teams in the NFL you can really say did not have a priority area of need. You said they better get a guy at this spot or they're in trouble. It was really hard to find a guy in the first round for Philadelphia you really felt comfortable with when you're trying to project this thing.
Who's enticing enough for the Cowboys to come and get? Is it Joe Staley? Is it?
Well, you got the cornerback.
You got the corner, or you got the corner?
You got wide receiver Meacham.
You got wide receivers, like Robert Meacham.
Wide receivers, corner. If you talk about corner, Henry, they would like to move with safety. Aaron Glenn is a little older than at the wide receiver position. Remember, I mentioned to you earlier that Terry Glenn's 33 years old. Terrell Owens is 33. Patrick Creighton will be an unrestricted free agent next year. So you start to look at that starts to look interesting to them.
Well, we'll get the details of the trade. Here are the players that you could look at here. A couple of them are wide receivers. Jarrett, Rice. So the Cowboys, who opted out of the first round a little while ago to allow Cleveland to trade up to get Brady Quinn, now move down, well, essentially just 4 spots and get back in the first round. Certainly career-wise, you're going to put up 20,000 yards between T.O. and Terry Glenn and go, you know what? Just good careers there.
They want obviously more productivity opposite DeMarcus Ware. Get more pressure from that other side, not put it all on Ware's shoulders. So you do have a guy like Anthony Spencer, who, as I said earlier, could play on his feet in that 3-4 defense.
It's great because Wade Phillips is now the head coach of the Cowboys, and he's going to attack the quarterback more. And Spencer, the great guy to pick out here. Don't forget, Sean Merriman, Sean Phillips, all those guys. Wade Phillips is going to bring heat on the quarterback.
To jump in front of New Orleans, you'd expect it wouldn't be a receiver. It would be probably a pass rusher.
Well, we thought cornerback for New Orleans and Chris Houston, the kid from Arkansas, who obviously Jerry Jones connection with Arkansas and all that. But, Chris Houston's the kind of kid that you would have thought New Orleans would have been looking at 1 pick later here.
But they really, I got to give the music the nod here. They went from Philadelphia Freedom and Rocky as soon as they made the trade. Now we got country. Well, they're on their game here in the first round.
This is the second time we've had country because it's the second time the Dallas has been on the clock. It's the same song. We got to keep hearing it over and over again.
Well, it's a big country hit.
Key, you were in Dallas. How do you think this transition goes from a guy who's kind of an iron-handed guy like Parcells to a more laid-back guy like Phillips? Does that work with players?
I think it will. You have a couple people on that staff that was under Bill Parcells, and so it'll kind of stay the same. I think Jerry Jones knows that he had some success under Bill Parcells in terms of turning that team around from where they were before. So if he can keep that intact, then I think they'll do fine.
All right, well, here's the trade, and here it is. It's news to me. So the Eagles get a 2, a 3, and a 5. Okay, for giving up the 1. So Dallas, wheeling, dealing, they're on the clock. They got about 5 minutes left to make the pick. We'll be back.
What's he got?
He's got some serious skills.
Right.
So, you've been going out, huh? Big parties, music, pretty ladies. Son, we need to talk about protection.
Dad, I'm 26.
Yeah, I know. But you're never too grown up for your old man to give you one of these.
Oh, man. Dad, thanks.
Every Coors Light can has a protective liner to lock in that refreshing frost-brewed taste.
You can never be too careful.
Frost-brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Oh, no. Not good.
The board's asking questions.
Hard questions. About our global integration strategy. Global integration strategy?
You know, the world is flat.
Do we have a strategy for that? That's what they want to know.
Uh-oh.
Boy. Oh, no. Not good.
They're looking for innovation.
A plan.
A schedule.
Answers. Soon. Yesterday.
No.
Oh, boy. Oh, no. Not good. What do we do?
All new.
I've been seeing Carlos.
You're lying.
What?
You always laugh like that when you're telling a lie.
4 all-new episodes. 4 Sundays in a row, leading to an explosive season finale.
I am totally, hopelessly in love with 2 men.
All-new Desperate Housewives, Sunday at 9, 8 Central, followed by an all-new Brothers and Sisters only on ABC.
Hi, I'm Joe D'Amico. I have more than 20 years experience of keeping cars running longer and in good condition. Here's another tip that can help you. These are brake pads, and they're a key component to making your car come to a stop. Checking your brake pads every 8,000 miles prevents unwanted damage and is important in keeping everyone safe. This sound is a warning. You need to get your brakes checked right away. Bring your car to the pros at Jackson Auto. We'll save you money, and if you find a better deal, we'll match it. It's that simple. We're the certified technicians at Jackson Auto Group.
Great time. Great deals.
My dream home is just a simple country house. Anything close to work.
Something a little humble, not too extravagant.
Secluded on a farm in the middle of nowhere where it's nice and quiet with a waterfall.
Easy maintenance.
I have a big family, so I want a double-decker house.
Find your dream home today with Hawaii's largest classifieds online or inside the Honolulu Advertiser.
Select Brady Quinn.
We are back, our direct TV breakdown now. Who will be the next quarterback taken? Will anybody still move up in the first round to maybe get who they think is better, Edwards or Beck? Or Stanton or someone else who are the suitors? Who's the next guy? Mel, what do you think as you rate your board?
I think if you look at Miami and Detroit as teams that would certainly like to get up and get a quarterback. Miami passing on Brady Quinn. You think they would look at Beck or Edwards, and Detroit would passing on Brady Quinn as well, taking Calvin Johnson. So I think you look at the court. Drew Stanton has slid back a bit in terms of my rankings. I put him ahead. He was a first rounder going into the year. Had some struggles there. Offensive line let him down. The receivers let him down. Edwards has moved ahead. Beck has moved ahead. Cobb, I think, is a little bit overrated. Smith has dropped into the 3rd or 4th round. So I think when you look at quarterbacks right now that you can expect to hear within the next, say, 10 or 12 picks, it would be Trent Edwards and John Beck.
Well, it's interesting because the Lions are sitting there. We think they're going to take a quarterback. Mike Martz, their offensive coordinator, likes a lot of quarterbacks in this draft. And even he's in love with John Beck from BYU. But Matt Millen loved Drew Stanton, the Michigan State guy. So it'll be interesting to see if the Lions use their pick.
I sense that John Beck will win that competition. I really do, with all the talent that he has. And we know that Drew has some of the issues of how he...
Well, here's the pick now by Dallas. Strange bedfellows, Cowboys and Eagles.
With the 26th pick in the first round of the 2007 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Anthony Spencer, defensive end, Purdue.
Okay, he was the last one of that ilk left, correct, Mel? So I get it, right? Now you see why they made the move. If that's what they wanted, the last one you probably had rated at that level.
Heck of a football player. Like I say, it was my pick back 2 or 3 months ago to be defensive rookie of the year. And you say why? Because I believe the easiest position to transition, in addition to running back, is that hybrid, that defensive end / outside linebacker. You can certainly put this kid on his feet, help out DeMarcus Ware. So it's not all about Ware on that one side. You got Spencer on the other to really get after that quarterback and attack. Ironically, Wade Phillips has Sean Phillips out of Purdue. Now he gets Anthony Spencer, another Boilermaker, who had 26.5 tackles for loss, was all over the field. I asked Joe Thomas on ESPN radio 3 weeks ago, and I said, Joe, who challenged you the most at defensive end your entire career? He said, without hesitation, Anthony Spencer. He breaks at every play, just like Penn State's Tom Bahali did.
And Levi Brown of Penn State identified Spencer as the toughest guy he went against. And if the Philadelphia Eagles watch Donovan McNabb get hit about 7 or 8 times next year against the Cowboys by Ware and Anthony Spencer, people will second guess, why did you make a trade with your division rival?
Well, that'll be in Philly. That'll be anything second.
Yeah, that's correct.
Same with Dallas when it comes to the Cowboys. This is not some by the way trade. But we should mention that the Cowboys defense, last 5 games, there was the fall off. They had things rolling. Then all of a sudden, a lot of things. They figured out Romo a little bit, and they also couldn't stop anybody. So Wade Phillips, you pointed it out. Defensive coach, attack style. Makes sense. Spencer, good player.
And Greg Ellis was injured, so that hurt him a little bit the second half of the season.
And Ellis is coming off an ruptured Achilles tendon. Those guys don't come back in their first year, and he's up there in age. It usually takes 2 years to come back to full peak from that injury, so this makes sense.
All right, so Dallas picked in Philly's spot, so Philly will end up with no first-round picks. The New Orleans Saints, who made it all the way to the NFC Championship game last year, they're on the clock. We'll be back.
Hey, Josh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
The Contender Challenge, UK versus USA, continues Tuesdays on ESPN.
Not good with money.
Wait, we're not good with money?
I mean, knowing where to put it. This fund, that fund, please.
I know how to manage money. When I switched jobs, who took care of the turnover?
Rollover.
Rollover, turnover, whatever, with the IRA.
Oh, that's managing money? They did most of it for him at Fidelity. They would have signed your name for you if they could have.
I took exactly what they told me to bring.
Oh, please, you couldn't get the dog to roll over.
It's your dog.
No matter what kind of investor you are, Fidelity can help you make a smart move.
Everybody wants the new LG from Alta Wireless. Get yours today.
The kids have a surprise for you.
The Leo Diamond, certified for superior brilliance. Hand selected to match beautifully by K Jewelers.
Every kiss begins with K.
You want to trade?
Break away from boring. Try the new Breakaway baskets from Long John Silver's. Get 2 crab cakes stuffed with lobster or 2 pieces of chicken, each with fries and pups for $2.99. Only at Long John Silver's.
Coach, would you agree it's a little hot in here for a mock turtleneck?
I wouldn't disagree with it.
Coach, my buddies tell me when it's this hot, nothing's more refreshing than a cold Coors Light.
You know something? They're right sometimes. More often than not, they're right.
Coach, doesn't this guy's hat look awesome backwards?
A lot of guys might not have reversed that.
Frost Brewed Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Did your place kicker make this onion dip?
It didn't look like he made it from where we were standing.
The New Orleans Saints, with the pick in, can change their history for a long time.
With the second choice in the 2006 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Reggie Bush, running back, USC.
A moment almost unimaginable is here. The Saints back in New Orleans, back in the Superdome. Look out, right through, a kickoff, it is scooped and scored, touchdown, New Orleans!
From rags to riches on the football field, 3-13 to 10-6, representing a city that's hopefully going from rags to riches itself.
Handed off inside the Bush, nothing there, comes to the near sideline, inside the 5, diving for the pylon, he's in! Destiny's darlings are still alive, and New Orleans, let the party begin.
It simply was one of the most uplifting stories in football this or any other year, and it went beyond football. A city we all know what happened with Katrina, and then the Saints just uplifting those. So many had moved out or had to make temporary homes elsewhere, and those that remained, they flocked back to the Superdome. We were there that night. The nation saw it, and then to turn a team into a 10-6 with that excitement and the way they scored the points, and Breeze playing and Bush running and Colston catching when they got in the 7th round, and then going up into beating Philadelphia in a wild playoff game, going into Chicago before they finally ended the season. It was a season that will be talked about forever. Pretty good first year for head coach Sean Payton, I would say.
You're not used to the Saints picking in this spot, and I think Sean Payton wants to make sure he stays in this spot in the first round and doesn't drop next year. So this pick very important.
But to do that, they're going to have to get their defense going. Yeah, they got a lot of offensive weapons, but they've got to get their defense going. Whether that's a linebacker, whether that's a defensive back. We've talked about some guys. We talked about Chris Houston of Arkansas possibly here. Or if they go offense and get another weapon, who do you think they would get if they actually went offense?
Well, you would have to think tight end Greg Olsen. They had Eric Johnson to a one-year deal, but I think you look at the tight end spot. You also look at the linebacker spot in the secondary at the cornerback position. So I think Chris Houston's name would come up. Greg Olsen, Paul Plus-Lusney from Penn State is still here at this stage of the first round. So the way it's falling right now, some of their needs can be addressed.
Even though their offense scored a lot of points, and that would be 413 points. Would they take a guy like Ben Grubbs, who you had on your board as a high...
Good football player. He's one of the best pure football players on the board, and the reason why he hasn't gone already is because he's a pure guard. He doesn't have the versatility to play tackle. Those versatile guys tend to go a little higher. Ben Grubbs is a guard, and that right now he is one of the top 15 to 17 players still available.
You know, let's look back also what Drew Brees did. He went in, and remember that Miami, he can't play. The physical, he went in to play New Orleans. I'm going to live in the city. So not only was he a symbol of the Saints going from 3-13 to 10-6, he was a symbol of the resurgence of the city. I don't think you can overlook what Drew Brees did.
He was a perfect example of resurgence for that city because he'd already resurgenced his own career while he was in San Diego. It was on the bubble there the year before, and during that offseason, he went in, and we talk about aptitude, that ability to go in and dive in deep into football. He studied, put his body in shape, and played great football the year before he was let go and gone to New Orleans. He came to New Orleans with the right attitude, and he is one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in this league because he is so accurate and he has great leadership and that aptitude issue. I think that Drew Brees is going to be around for a long time and be a Pro Bowler, and I think he's got the perfect marriage with this coach now, and that city loves him. That is a love affair that will go on for quite a while.
You know what? It's going to be a fun game. It's the Saints, I believe their first home game this year was as if we had last year on the Monday night when they were 2-0 and they played 2-0 Atlanta, and you saw Gleason with the block hip punt. That was great. This year, the opening game of the Saints at home is another Monday nighter. Vince Young in Tennessee and Reggie Bush and New Orleans. We'll see that on Monday Night Football, which is our segue to Mike Tirico and the gang. How was that, Mike?
Yeah, it was pretty good, Chris. You've done this before, right? That will be 364 days after September 25th of 06, and any of us who were in the Dome that day will never, ever forget it. You know, you talked about Drew Brees, guys, here with the Saints on the clock and 4:20 till their pick, or till their time runs out. It kind of dovetails with Brees here, the top of the second round where he was selected with San Diego a few years back. This is right around the time round where you expect to see quarterbacks taking a few of them. And Mel said Drew Stanton is his next quarterback, followed by Trent Edwards, John Beck. How do your quarterbacks line up?
Oh, clear to me it was John Beck. I love when I look at the tape of John Beck. I saw a quarterback with tremendous awareness. He knew where to go with the football, and he found completions. In other words, there was pressure on him. He couldn't get to the primary or secondary. He would check the ball down and move the chains. He was that kind of quarterback. As I study quarterbacks, the most important trait they have to have is anticipation. Do not wait for the receiver to get open. Throw the ball before they get open. That's exactly what John Beck can do.
When you study college quarterbacks, you look for NFL throws, like the skinny post. It's an anticipation throw, delivered before the receiver makes his break. Right here is when John Beck made the decision to pull the trigger. Look at where the receiver was. He had not yet reached the top of his route. You do not see a lot of anticipation throws from college quarterbacks. Beck was an exception. Here's another. On a deep comeback from the far hash, a litmus test throw for projection to the NFL. Again, here is where Beck made the decision to deliver the football. His receiver was still running vertically. That showed NFL timing, anticipation, and of course, accuracy. One more thing. Beck's understanding of how to manipulate the secondary. Here he moved the deep safety with his body and his head. You have to be able to do that in the NFL. And look at the throw. Great touch and accuracy. On tape, Beck looked very comfortable, and he found completions.
Another great quality is that accuracy, and Steve Young always talks about the quarterback throwing accurately. I also know that Beck can throw the football with that firm stick, hard throw when he has to, but he knows when to make the soft throw and when to make the hard throw, Mike.
You see Beck hanging on your every word, Jaws, as he's standing by in Provo, Utah, where he calls home, of course, the home of BYU. He's waiting for the selection. Now, Ty Detmer wasn't available.
I hope he liked my stuff.
I hope so. Ty Detmer wasn't available, so we found another BYU quarterback in Steve Young, who has more on Beck. Steve?
It's Jim McMahon, though. Don't worry about him. No. Beck's a great quarterback. You know what? He really impressed me this season, how he handled this football team at BYU, who had been struggling for a long time. He led them to their record and to the bowl win, and he led them because he was savvy in how he went around throwing the football. He was smart. I watched him against Air Force. I watched him against Utah. I got in a lot of games in this year, and personally, I was very impressed with his subtlety. They compare him to Drew Brees for a reason. Drew Brees is also very subtle in how he moves, how he uses his backside. He's aware of the backside, even though he's looking this way. I enjoyed watching John Beck, and in many ways, you talk about the quarterback factory. John Beck starts that factory back up again after being off for quite a while. I expect him to go here in the next 10 picks for sure.
We'll see. Dallas, of course, the last pick was Anthony Spencer, defensive end Baylor. First round pick from Baylor since Ron Woodson went in '87. Now, the New Orleans Saints, Final Four team, have made their selection. The commissioner.
With the 27th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Robert Meacham, wide receiver, Tennessee.
Wow.
Well, I said John Gruden.
Wow. Sean Payton.
Sean Payton, he likes offense.
Wow.
Firepower. They lost Joe Horn.
I understand that. And they like Joe, but he wasn't healthy enough. And now they get Colston in the 7th round last year.
3 receiver, wide receiver sets, 3 receivers out there.
Bush.
A lot of weapons, a lot of toys.
Breeze, and now Meacham.
Big wide receiver, boom, 6'2", 215. He talked about the ability this year that he showed with Eric Ainge at quarterback, put up big numbers. Areas against Chris Houston in coverage, Meacham with a touchdown. And if you look at a guy that played well in the big games, this is early in the season against Cal. Yards after the catch, he was huge in that game. Big all season in terms of average per catch. Catches 71 receptions. Did something that he didn't do the year before, which is have a lot of productivity, because the quarterback situation at Tennessee was just not very good. When they got to the point where Eric Ainge was in there solidly at the quarterback spot, Robert Meacham emerged as a big-time player and certainly a prospect that a lot of teams in the middle of the first round on have had their eye on.
You know, and in this division, I think that you think about offensively, they're going to put some points up. And in this division, if you score 28 points, you're going to go undefeated in the division in many cases. So I think that they're saying to themselves, they could go a lot of different ways here, but this guarantees them that they're going to be one of the more dynamic top 5 offenses in the league.
And now with Meacham going, along with Harrell, that gives a pair of balls that were selected. Miami has a pair of players. They always have first-round players selected. But wait, as they say on late night TV, but wait, there's more. LSU, of course, has a trio of players that have already been picked. Florida has a pair of players, Moss and Nelson, and Texas with Griffin and Moss. So, how these teams did last year? I mean, these 5 schools with at least 2 one-team picked already. We're not even done with the first round. So New England now on the clock with their second first-round pick. We'll get back and address the Patriots, but now let's go up the pike to Trey Wigo. Trey?
All right, Boomer, thank you very much. Again, as Boomer said, the 28th pick of the first round, second for New England. Time for a little 3-and-out presented by Hummer. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, let's, Sean, start with you. First question, the best pick so far in this draft?
To me, it's a no-brainer. It's the best football player in this draft, and it's Calvin Johnson with Detroit, especially with the fact that Matt Millen, they had to have the guts to take this receiver, their 4th first-rounder, especially with the 2 that didn't work out in Mike Williams and Charles Rogers. This was the biggest no-brainer pick of the draft. If he'd have been picked 1st, 6th, 3rd, 4th, this is no questions asked. As close to a guarantee as we have in the NFL draft this year. I think he's a star in the making and a great kid. He goes over the middle, can go deep, can do it all. Best one without question.
And John Kitna did throw for over 4,200 yards last year, so it just adds to that arsenal.
5,000 now.
We know Mike March likes to throw the ball a little bit.
CFL player now.
That is correct. Mark May, question for you. Biggest reach so far?
Well, I think with the Cleveland Browns, they made a reach when they had to move from 36 to 22 to get a quarterback in Brady Quinn. When John Beck was still on the board, Trent Edwards was still on the board, and they gave away next year's first-round pick, which could possibly be a top 10 pick. But the biggest reach of the day, the Miami Dolphins. Cam Cameron, what are you doing? Your first year at head coach there, you take Ted Ginn Jr. He's not 100%. You want him to be a number one receiver. He's not a number one in the NFL. He's going to have problems getting off the line of scrimmage. He won't go over the middle to catch balls, and those difficult passes where he's going to catch the ball in traffic, he's not going to get there.
And by the way, Mark May's not the only one that disagrees with that. We brought in some footage, and we were watching it earlier, of Cam Cameron, the Dolphins head coach, telling the Miami faithful at a draft party that they had drafted Ted Ginn. There was more booing than there was cheering, and that's your hardcore audience. Yeah. Those are the guys that show up for a draft party, and Cam Cameron greeted to boos with his first-round selection. Tough crowd. All right, number 3 on our 3 and out, Michael Smith. Best first round so far, in your opinion?
Well, Cleveland certainly had the most newsworthy and exciting first round, but the most productive first rounds, in my opinion, belong to 2 of the most underachieving teams in the league last year, and that's the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Carolina making a trade with New York and picking up, I think, an extra second-round pick and moving from the 6th to the 5th round, and still getting the guy they targeted at 14, which is John Beeson. Might have gotten a little nervous with New England on the clock after 24. They passed on Beeson. They're getting their guy. Now they got 2 second-rounders. You look at Jacksonville. They moved down with the Denver Broncos, pick up a 3rd-round pick and a 6th, get the guy they had targeted at 17, Reggie Nelson. So teams dream about dropping down and getting their guys, adding extra picks. This was the most substantive and productive draft, the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, in fact, Carolina dropped down 11 spots and still got the guy they were going after in John Beeson. We'll see if they can turn it around now and get some more production offensively and defensively, because people think it was all offense the problem last year in Carolina. They had so many fourth-quarter leads, they couldn't close people out.
Go to Steve Smith.
Yeah, that, you know what? That might work.
That's obvious. I can't comment my man. He's sitting there right there. He knows that.
USC guy who just decided to go to the Utah wide receiver.
Oh, wow. Man.
Keyshawn's going to call you in about 5 minutes.
It's a no-brainer. That's my guy.
If it's a no-brainer, we're the right guys to deliver it to you. The Patriots are on the clock, 28th pick in the first round. Second selection for them in round 1. Coming up in a minute.
Bye, hon. Find us a good one.
Bye.
With 2 million vehicle listings to choose from on Cars.com, you can find the right car for you.
There it is.
Find the right car for you. Cars.com.
These are only some of the rewards of Hyatt Gold Passport. These are the great new places to earn them. Join now at goldpassport.com.
Hey, LeBron. Hey, Mr. Big Man. Who's got the moves now, Mr. Superstar?
The new Cub Cadet Time Saver I-1000 zero-turn tractor. The only mower that maneuvers like a zero-turn and drives like a tractor. So you can keep up with the Jameses.
Who's got game, baby? Bring it. Go left? Am I going right? Am I...
The middle is now the best place to be. It's Wendy's new Steakhouse Double Melt. Caramelized onions and mushrooms, bacon, creamy Swiss, and peppercorn sauce melted in the middle of 2 hot and juicy, fresh, never frozen beef patties. Get in the middle of one today at Wendy's and do what tastes right.
Traffic ahead.
Incredible. You found a golf course near the conference. Awesome Chinese. Now you find me a way around traffic. I love you.
Every now and then I get a little bit lonely and you're never coming around.
Take Market Street exit.
You're right. We'll just keep it professional, you know?
Go everywhere, find everything. Fall hard for the new Wear 2 GPS at Avis.
Hey, Jimmy, need a little help? Sure. You know what else would be good?
Cobalt tools are so comfortable.
Let me use that screwdriver. No.
You just don't want to quit working.
Yeah. What do you think? Great tools.
Cobalt, the next generation of tough tools.
Well, anything else we can do? There's always my wife's car.
Available exclusively at Lowe's.
Trey Wingo here in our studios. Don't forget the Patriots still on the clock with their second selection of the draft of the first round. That's coming up. Meanwhile, over on ESPN, the Busch Series race at Talladega, Casey Mears in a caution under 10 laps to go in that race. Now let's go back to New York and Mel Kiper Jr.
Got some good players still on the board. I think when you look at the guys, a variety of positions are still available. Teams in the late first round are going to find some real bargains, guys that they normally would not expect to still see there. Greg Olsen, Chicago Bears have to be excited about him still on the board. Baltimore Ravens, Grubbs and Staley still here as we speak. New England, David Harrison, Puz Leslie still there as well. Quality football players still on the board late in the first round. And I'll tell you what, the teams are in good shape. You look at Ryan Khalil can play center and guard. Sears can play guard and tackle. Ugo, the fourth left tackle available that you thought would be late first, early second. Dwayne Jarrett and Brian Leonard, a jack of all trades. New England Patriots on the clock. We'll be back.
Coach Ditka, did you really say you'd trade all your draft picks for a case of frost-brewed Coors Light?
I mean, I didn't say it in those general terms, but I said it like that.
Okay, well then what about the teams that didn't trade for Coors Light?
You know, they're behind everybody else right now, and they have to catch up.
Coach, are you sure you're not confusing the NFL draft with draft beer?
I'm going to keep them loose, my trainer. Who?
Frost-brewed Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Coach, I thought he couldn't see. Is this cool?
He doesn't seem as comfortable there for some reason.
Being created today. From tires that help make your car more fuel efficient and safer, to earth-friendly production and recycling methods, Michelin is striving to help you find a better way forward. Michelin, a better way forward.
I think this hot fudge shake combined with the Oreos is the #3 top invention in all of history.
What are the first two?
Well, #1 is the doorbell, and #2 is still open. I mean, it's anybody's game.
It's not like the radio or the telephone like that.
Not that I know of. But this thing's cool. What's this?
It's a visor.
All right, #2.
Hot fudge shake made with Oreo cookies. New at Sonic. A favorite childhood cookie blended with hot fudge into a cool, creamy treat. Pay the Sonic way. Swipe your credit or My Sonic card from your car.
Bethan! What's up, you? Your cell phone bill is what's up. All this texting.
OMG, INBD.
It is a big deal. Who are you texting 50 times a day?
IDK, my BFF Jill.
Tell your BFF Jill that I'm taking away your phone.
TISNF.
Me paying this bill, that's what's SNF.
Now too much texting is NBD. Singular brings you unlimited texting, just $5 more a month. And get mom a red pearl for Mother's Day. Singular is now the new AT&T. Your world delivered.
This is the NFL Draft on ESPN, presented by Coors Light.
Welcome back to Radio City Music Hall. 5.5 hours into this first round. We still have 5 picks left. The New England Patriots working on their second first-round selection. Brandon Merriweather, the safety from Miami, chosen 24th overall. Now this is 28 overall. And so the New England Patriots trying to retool. I had a feeling New England wouldn't keep 2. The Patriots just traded their pick with the 49ers. So we'll come up with that one. Reminder of 1981 when was it 82 when they paid the Niners got Russ Francis.
Niners. We talked about the Niners and Mike Nolan, the head coach. They're trying to build the defense and just
yes.
So they could go a lot of defense in this draft. an offensive lineman. They still have need for that. They have a wide receiver need. They still have needs, even though they are building this the right way. Scott McCloughan, their personnel guy, and Mike Nolan, they're putting this thing together piece by piece, and they are a physically tougher team and a mentally tougher team than before they were when Nolan came.
And they have 10 picks. They have a lot of picks to play with here, so they can give up 1 or 2 to go up and get some.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who it's going to be here.
I got to believe to jump in front of Baltimore looking at a couple of offensive linemen, that this might be a spot for, Joe Staley, offensive tackle, where he's going to go the next couple of picks. This is a chance for the 49ers to jump up and take an offensive lineman that's going to be around for a long time.
Well, the 49ers took Patrick Willis way back with the 11th pick earlier in the day. 49ers are interesting. You touched on it before, and we know we can elaborate with them on the clock. We'll get the details of the trade in a minute. No Norv Turner. Alex Smith made huge strides last year. You see him continuing, or are you concerned?
I think you have to be concerned when you get that kind of symbiotic relationship that they had going. And I think that's why they wanted Norv so badly to stay, and they couldn't believe it when he ended up in San Diego. They thought that they'd passed all the opportunities that Norv would have had. They started to rest and take a deep breath, and all of a sudden, boom, they lost him. And so I think that was a big shock to them. And they had a great relationship with Alex Smith. And then they've got to kind of continue to pick that up from there. I think the big issue right now is, can the 49ers make that next leap? They definitely came from the bottom. They've pushed forward to the next level now. Obviously, the next level is playoffs.
Well, here will be the details of the trade.
With the 28th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Joe Staley, offensive tackle, Central Michigan.
And then a good couple of young linemen on the team, last year that started to play some key roles. William Harris, this could be a signal of the end.
He's struggled, and I think he struggled so badly that at some point they had to kind of address that. They're going to make Alex, if they're going to increase his productivity, they're going to have to increase it by giving him some protection.
Very athletic kid. You talk about a kid who was 215 coming in. Now he's 305, 6'5 and a half. His strength is improving. He's 27 reps at the combine. Great feet, athleticism, certainly get down the field into that second level. A guy that can play right or left tackle, you would think, in the NFL, getting stronger. I think you surprised some people with the fact that, hey, he's not that far away from needing where you need to be from a strength standpoint. His best football still ahead was even a tight end early on with the Chippewas. So this is a kid is not yet as good as he will be, Mort. It seems like the so-called word upside, and they have it with Joe Staley.
And he was a sprinter in high school, and I know every line coach, a lot of line coaches who watched his workout or worked him out personally, fell in love with the kid. And Mike Nolan, again, trying to get character guys, and he wants guys who love football, and Joe Staley meets all that, not to mention a pretty good athlete.
And so the Niners end up with 2 picks in the first round. They pick Joe Staley along with Patrick Willis. Baltimore's on the clock. We'll get you the trade as soon as we come back.
Baltimore will stay 2-2
We have Ditka on the show. We always do Mike and Mike and Mike.
Yeah.
I was thinking if we get Mike Singletary too, we could call it Mike and Mike and Mike and Mike.
Oh, you're a genius. I got a better idea. How about if we could every Mike that exists in the world of sports, and we call it Mike and 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 Mike.
All right. Pass me the highlighter.
What makes them different makes them great. Mike and Mike in the morning.
Tonight, with the series tied, the Nuggets come back to Denver to take on the Spurs in Game 3. Then, with the Rockets up 2-1, the Jazz are out to even it up. The NBA playoffs continue tonight on ESPN with Spurs Nuggets at 8 Eastern and Rockets Jazz at 10:30.
All across the country, fans are seeing football in a whole new way. With unprecedented access to the NFL, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Fans have made NFL Network one of the fastest growing networks in television history. So when you want access to the National Football League, connect to the place where football season never ends.
Like I said, we live in a society where the individual ego and the group dynamic are in constant struggle.
Response?
Yeah, I have a response. What?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Nobody said this was going to be easy.
Now, see, if Geico.com had taken that approach, instead of telling everyone it's so easy a caveman can do it, I wouldn't be having an existential meltdown.
right now.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
9 enter the battlefield to protect their treasure, the diamond. 1 stands up to them all to bring it all home. It has all come down to this. Who will come out victorious in high school baseball? Join us for our live coverage of the OIA Baseball Playoffs. The quest for glory begins this Wednesday night at 6:30. OIA Baseball on OC16. Brought to you by Zippy's, Pizza Hut, and the Tony Group Autoplex.
I'm Dave Rebson with a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update. Biggest stories of the NFL draft so far. As expected, Jamarcus Russell, the quarterback out of LSU, going first overall to the Raiders. That was expected. This was not. Notre Dame quarterback Brady Quinn lasts until the 22nd pick. Browns traded up to get him. And ESPN's Ed Werder reports Cowboys owner Jerry Jones says he's committed to paying Terrell Owens his $3 million roster bonus due in June, meaning T.O. will remain in Dallas. SportsCenter 11 Eastern, ESPN 2, ESPN News anytime. More from New York next.
If these walls could talk, they'd say with field goal posts this narrow, threading the needle is not always done with your hands. If these walls could talk, they'd say you have to see it to believe it. Russell Athletic, ESPN Arena Football, Monday at 8 p.m. on ESPN2.
What is up, Chad? Get in the van. All right, listen up, bro. My circle's gotta go.
Why? Being able to choose the people you call for free no matter what network they're on is great. Now we can all be friends.
I don't want to be friends, so knock it off.
Okay.
We'll have to do stuff.
Like what?
Pinch him, man.
Ow. You just pinched me?
Big time. More where that came from.
It's time to get what you want from your wireless company. To find out more, take the head-to-head challenge.
Having a half-ton with the most legroom and a fancy rear seat is great, but truckers want to know if it's still got some truck left in it. We'll put it this way. If it'll drop bar pull 6,400 pounds of dead weight, towing 10,100 pounds is a walk in the park. Hello, Dolly. Available on the all-new Tundra Crew Max, the truck that's changing it all.
So this DirecTV superfan tchotchke lets you watch an entire game in 30 minutes? There's no shortcuts in football, Buttercup. Football is hard work. And groin pulls.
Sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket today and get Superfan for free.
Grab the beer that starts out cold and ends up refreshing. Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Now get all your favorites in one box. Introducing the new Variety Big Box from KFC. Popcorn chicken, a crispy strip, a drumstick, mashed potatoes, coleslaw, a biscuit, and a large drink. Fill up on all your favorites at KFC.
It's time to feel free with Chase Freedom. Feel free to choose points for rewards like travel.
I'm free to do what I want.
Or feel free to choose cash back.
I'm free.
Then feel free to change back again.
In the old time.
Without losing a thing. That's freedom. That's Chase Freedom. Get it free at chase.com/freedom.
We are back here in New York. So here is the trade. Very interesting. The Niners moving up to get a second first-round pick from New England and picking tackle Joe Staley. In return, the Patriots get next year's #1 from San Francisco and a fourth. The bottom line is New England now won't pick again until the third round. They don't have that extra one. They don't have the two, but they get a 1 next year from San Francisco. So they get two ways to look at it. There's a direct TV breakdown. For New England, who once again gets a 1 next year. You know, they get San Francisco's 1, and for San Francisco to give it up, if Joe Staley becomes Tony Baselli, they're geniuses. If Joe Staley becomes Tony Mandarich, they're fools.
Well, you're talking, we've now got two teams here, Cleveland Browns and San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are making some progress. We don't know on Cleveland yet. If next year these picks are top 10 picks, we're going to be dissecting this decision today pretty well.
Well, the Niners will be a top 10 pick, but I think from New England's angle, one little thing here to put in, they improved themselves so much in free agency. Not we don't need the draft. They would never think like that. But unless there was a special guy there, they figured we've already improved ourselves greatly. And so there was no need to make a kind of a reach.
Joe Staley was up on their board, and I think in the middle of even when they were picking back earlier in the first round, he was there. So when he ended up being close, they knew that Baltimore was probably going to take him or Ben Grubbs. Right. We're going to have to do this now. I think he figured the one next year, no matter where it is, if I can get this kid that I think was worthy of being earlier in the first round now, let's just jump on it. I have a huge need right now. Let's get it fixed right with a kid that's going to be around for 10 years.
Especially
and
left
I think
tackle.
That's what
left tackles normally
Mike Nolan
never
always,
around this late in the first.
Exactly.
With this ability, with a guy like Staley, who's not yet a finished product, to see a guy like this on the board this late in round one, I think New York Giants, Kansas City kind of did the 49ers and maybe almost Baltimore a favor by allowing Staley to get down to the point the 49ers could make that move. Baltimore now gets a heck of an offensive guard and my opinion, one of the top 15 to 17 players in this draft in Ben Grubbs.
In New England, obviously, in my opinion, they won in this. They actually won in this one because these teams that's given up these picks and giving up, they had some strides. They had some strides a year ago. San Francisco loses North. Let's just face it. They're not going to be that good. They're going to be okay. So now all of a sudden you look up and that pick is 10 or so. Now what the 49ers had a heck of an offseason.
Yeah,
they had a great offseason.
They fixed some things on defense. It'll be interesting.
The expectations will be if they don't make the playoffs, the 49ers, it'll be a disappointment. With what's happened last year and this offseason, it's completely expected.
Are they going to make it?
Why not? Pick is in. Baltimore has made their selection here with the
29th selection in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Ben Grubbs, guard, Auburn.
Well, a guy that we thought might go a little bit higher than this, so the Ravens getting good value certainly here, Mel, as you pointed out, a pure guard.
Exactly. Former tight end and defensive tackle, moved to guard spring practice prior to the 2004 season. So you're sitting there thinking, is he inexperienced as an offensive lineman? Does he need time to transition in? Absolutely no chance of that happening. He will start right away. This guy played in 38 consecutive games, played in 50. 3 years as a starting guard in the SEC on that Auburn offensive line. The other guard, Tim Duckworth, has a chance to be a pick late first day, early second day. Great at pulling out, leading the back around the corner, can trap as well very effectively. A kid who I thought, as I said, you're getting a guy at pick number 29 who you could have made an argument is in the top 15 on your draft board.
I thought it's huge. Remember, they got Willis McGahee, the running back from the Buffalo Bills, in a trade. And the Baltimore Ravens need some road graders. Auburn offensive lineman, not bad. Marcus McNeil went to the Chargers last year and ended up playing in the Pro Bowl. He was from Auburn. They can put out some guys who can put people on their backs.
I'm actually surprised that Grubbs can't play a lot of positions, that he can only play guard because he's from eclectic Alabama. We'll be back with San Diego next.
Coach, when it's this hot, can any beer be more refreshing than Coors Light?
No, I don't believe that. That's not possible.
We'll save a cold one for you, Coach.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
How do you choose between Coors Light and cold refreshment?
Well, I don't believe I can segregate the two.
It was a trick question.
Frost Brewed Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Hey, Coach, we still got a 12-pack and 4 ice-cold cans.
Well, 12 and 4 is pretty good.
Right now at Applebee's, it's steak time, where you can dive into a juicy house sirloin, a Bourbon Street steak topped with Cajun spices, and Chef Tyler Florence's seared ribeye with garlic chili shrimp. Only at Applebee's.
With 2 million vehicle listings on Cars.com, you can find the right car for you. That's it. And the seller who has it.
My SUV. Yeah, I posted it yesterday.
Find the right car for you. Cars.com.
Now you guys look like you're totally gelling.
Oh, we're not just gelling. We're gelling. If you understand what we're telling.
Gelling. Did you get it, Ellen?
I do, Helen. Gelling is something very compelling.
Are you gelling? We put 2 kinds of gel into Dr. Scholl's new and improved massaging gel insoles. Outrageous comfort, guaranteed. We're gelling.
You're not.
You're not. Are you gelling? Dr. Scholl's.
extreme power of Energizer E-Squared Lithium, the world's longest-lasting AA battery and high-tech devices. Energizer. Keep going.
The internet has changed the way home buyers find homes. And now, it's changing the way home sellers find buyers. Online Seller Advantage from Prudential Real Estate, powered by Yahoo. It's the future of real estate now.
ESPN's coverage of the NFL Draft is presented by Frostbrewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And in part by Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar, eating good in the neighborhood.
All right, we are back in New York, and now the team with not the Super Bowl champ, but the team with the best record in football is now on the clock, the San Diego Chargers. Now, will they pick a receiver from up the road from Keyshawn's alma mater, Dwayne Jarrett, USC? Will they pick Steve Smith, the slot receiver, USC? There are a couple of the guys that are out there. And Keyshawn, they're just two guys that you obviously know quite well. Give us plus and minuses for those two players.
Well, I think that, first of all, when you talk about Steve Smith, he's climbed up the board here in the last couple of months because he did a tremendous job out there in his workouts and running fast and catching the ball. I was there watching him, and I said to myself, in my eyes, he looked better than Dwayne Jarrett. But when I went over the last couple of years and watching Dwayne Jarrett play and watching some of the things that he did in college, he reminds me of myself a lot. And I said to myself, if they can get him in San Diego at this pick, then they got a chance to do something. And I know North Turner well enough to know he likes wide receivers like Michael Irvin.
You say remind you of yourself. What reminds you of?
Well, he's tall, he's long, he's rangy. Football's caught far out in front of him. He can position himself very, very well. To position himself like that, to rebound the basket. Football, it fades and things of that nature.
How about the speed factor?
Speed is overrated at the wide receiver.
4.6 as opposed to, what did you
Speed
run?
I was in the 4.4s at 220 pounds. But speed is overrated. I went number one. You don't have to run 4.4 to go where he's going to go.
What about getting people off of his body? Bump and run, people getting into that tall frame. I know you've had to deal with that over the years with your strength. Does he have that strength?
His ability to get into the weight room and do some of those things, Steve, you can push. You can touch a little bit and get guys off balance. Dwayne will be fine. I counseled him. Let me tell you, I said it early on back in December. I said, you know what? He needs to stay in school to learn how to be a wide receiver on a professional level. Now that he's come out, I think this is the perfect spot for him. You got a good head coach who likes big receivers. Remember, he drafted Westbrook up in Washington.
North Turner did that when he was the Redskins head coach.
Well, we'll see if that's an area where they go, but we do know this. Let's just set up the San Diego Chargers for a moment because, A, they had the best record in football last year at 14-2. Then, of course, you know what happened. Does Marty Schottenheimer stay? Does he go? Well, then first the coordinators left. Wade Phillips was gone. Cam Cameron was gone. Marty was there. Then he was out. Norv Turner is in as the new head coach. Meanwhile, what happened during the season? LaDainian Tomlinson had a season to break all the records, 31 touchdowns that he scored, breaking the old mark of Sean Alexander by 3. Only once in the history of pro football did a player break the touchdown record by more than 2. That was Don Hudson in the 40s. LaDainian Tomlinson did it last year. You start to wonder, though. There is a ticking clock on a back as marvelous as Tomlinson. This is what, year 7 for Tomlinson? Year 6, 2000? Right, so in the next couple of years, here you go. They went with Phillip Rivers at quarterback. This is what they're doing now. There are two models that San Diego likes. 2 years ago, Pittsburgh had the best record, 15-1. Didn't get to the Super Bowl. They won it the next year. The next year, Indianapolis, 13-0. Didn't get to the Super Bowl, but they won it this past year. San Diego, the best record of 14-2 last year, didn't get to the Super Bowl. Do they make it 3 times the charm? They're certainly good enough.
Well, you got to know they're going to score plenty of points. I asked Mel and Mort, what about David Harris as an inside linebacker? They need that help. I mean, we were talking about the San Diego Chargers, the Superchargers.
But before we get to that, think about this. They fired a coach in Marty Schottenheimer who had 207 career wins. I think it was 7th or 6th on the all-time list. Went 14-2. You lose to the Patriots, there's no disgrace in that. There's a lot of pressure on Norv Turner as head coach here because they're saying you've got to win in the playoffs to maybe get to the Super Bowl. And obviously A.J. Smith, the general manager, who clearly wanted this move. So I think that just puts that much pressure on this team when you fire a coach like Marty, who's popular with the players as well,
especially with the dynamic offense they had last year. They scored plenty of points. You come in as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach who's also very offense-oriented, you've got some big shoes to fill. Tremendous amount of pressure.
But Norv is in the best position he's ever been in his coaching career. He went to Washington. He did okay there. The new owner comes in, gets him out. He tries to take over a Raider team where everything was just all up in the air. Now he moves. He goes to San Francisco. He gets the offense going and moving in the right direction. Now he finally inherits a football team that has some ability, has some talent, and I expect him to do really well.
Well, he'll put that in, right? I mean, you talked about it. He was there 1 year on the staff, and a lot of that offense is still Norv.
I know other coaches that might have criticized this move. They said it makes sense because Norv did put this offense in, and it makes sense for Phillip Rivers.
Well, will it be more offensive, push the envelope? We just saw this a moment ago. That's Greg Olson happy. But remember, they got Gates. Could be off by a team. We'll see.
Dad's making dinner.
I'm up. Biggest pick of the draft. 5th pick, 6th round. TJ Houshmandzadeh. Yes, lock it up.
Who?
What? TJ, how's vanilla? All right. TJ, who's your mama?
NFL.com Fantasy Rule 17. Know how to pronounce your draft picks.
You mean TJ Houshmandzadeh from the Bengals?
Put him on the board. Houshmandzadeh. Got it. Championship.
Go to NFL.com/fantasy for early bird special sign-up offers.
There's a new secret to looking younger. An advancement so profound.
Hi, I'm Joe D'Amico. I have more than 20 years experience of keeping cars running longer and in good condition. Here's another tip that can help you. Dirty oil and filters can make your engine use more gas, and not having enough oil can lead to costly repairs. So check your oil level once a month and change your oil and filters every 6 months or 5,000 miles. Bring your car to the pros at Jackson Auto. We'll save you money, and if you find a better deal, we'll match it. It's that simple. We're the certified technicians at Jackson Auto Group.
Straight talk, great deals.
Ready for a different local newscast? KHNL News 8 is live.
UH receives help from an unlikely benefactor.
KHNL News 8 is local.
Fire crews were able to keep the flames from spreading to other units on the 25th floor.
KHNL News 8 is late breaking.
Online or on the air, KHNL News 8 gives you up-to-the-minute news that matters to you.
It's the new wave of TV news. KHNL News 8, live, local, late breaking.
Spencer. Select Brady Quinn.
And welcome back to New York. You're getting a look at the new San Diego helmet. It's almost the old powder blue helmet from the AFL. Not quite. You don't see the black numbers on the side, but it's a combination of the old lightning bolts of the 60s and a kind of a new wave. Some of the players were involved with this too. The uniforms change, but it's not powder blue. I'm just telling you the facts.
If you're going to go back, then go back.
Well, they're back somewhat.
In sports. Why do you go halfway back?
They're going to wear the powder blues a couple of times, but at any rate, the issue is they're going to pick up that phone right there. That's a helmet phone. And let's see. Usually I have the Tijuana taxi here. I think it got stuck at El Cajon, so we're going to have to find out what the Chargers do and see if Norv pushes that envelope at a position.
They got to get a new stadium before they can get new uniforms.
Yeah, well, one miracle at a time, right? So the San Diego Chargers, is this their year? We shall see. You know, there are a couple models by which you would say, yes, it could be. A couple years ago, Seattle hadn't won a playoff game in a long time. Bang, bang.
The bar is set high for the Chargers.
Absolutely.
14-2, and you fire a coach who's won 207 games.
Chicago hadn't won a playoff in a long time. Bang, bang. They won.
But did they really? Did they fire their
Here we go.
coach
New
on-
helmet, semi-new uniforms.
What?
Here's the pick.
With the 30th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the San Diego Chargers select Craig Davis, wide receiver, LSU.
Well, we thought that, and just think for a moment, Mel, as you break him down. Jamarcus Russell was throwing to two wide receivers that also went in the first round. Bo and Davis now to the Chargers.
The other wide receiver at LSU, look at Craig Davis, 6'1 and a quarter, 205 pounds. After the catch this year, he's outstanding here, beating the cornerback for the touchdown. You look at a kid who runs very well, around a 4.43. Some thought he would even run faster than that. I tell you, there were some teams that were a little skeptical about whether he, in fact, was worthy of being a late one, early two. Some thought, well, he'll probably end up being a third-round pick. You could argue they reached a little bit. The consensus was not that Craig Davis was a late one. It was more he was a mid to late 2 or 3. But a guy that certainly has a lot of talent. And playing through injuries is the one thing he needs to do. He has a nick or he has a little minor injury, play through it, stay on the practice field, stay in games when that situation occurs to maximize all that ability. Because athletically and yards after the catch, he got it done at LSU.
Well, this is the third time in history that a pair of wide receiver teammates have gone together in the first round. Ike Hilliard and Anthony went in 97. Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne, you would certainly say those two warranted first-round selections in 01. And now Dwayne Bowe and Craig Davis here in 07. So, wow.
Maybe, look, what happened to the Southern Cal receivers? I'm a little disappointed in terms of that. But I do think that I felt that they needed to take a wide receiver. I didn't think that they would take this kid, but hey, they got a good one. He'll be fine.
Wayne Jarrett's not as he's a 4.62, 4.43 guy. Sidney Rice, 4.53. This kid's a 4.43. You look at Anthony Gonzalez, more of a slot guy. To me, they went with speed
but also,
over the size and the productivity.
I think Mike Williams has scared a lot of people. I think the Mike Williams factor, what they've done here, is saying, oh, you're in a system. We got to scheme so much around Dwayne Jarrett and Mike to get them open that, you know what, we can get them in the second round and maybe even slip them into the third round and steal them. So this is where you start to get value. And whoever gets Dwayne Jarrett and Steve Smith, trust me, they're getting good football players.
And we can second guess the Chargers for firing a 14-2 coach, but one thing you can't, their draft choices over the years under A.J. Smith, the general manager, and Buddy Nix, their personnel guy, have been unbelievable. So you have to give him a benefit of doubt here, even though Craig Davis surprises people. But the system, I have heard that before with some of these Southern Cal receivers.
And that is true. That is true.
Well,
in a West Coast system, you can scheme guys and do a whole lot of different things, put some on the stick nods and sluggo seams, do some of those sorts of things. And Dwayne Jarrett and Mike Williams have both been guilty of that. And that's one of the reasons why I told Dwayne, stay in school, work on your skills so that you don't have everybody out there scrutinizing your ability. When I was in college, I didn't have schemes. We didn't do that.
So it was a mistake for Dwayne Jarrett to come out early.
Yeah.
How much faster is he going to be this time next year as opposed to what he is
He can be a better football player.
He may well be, but at 4'6", he's always going to be there. He's always going to be 4'6".
Factor doesn't matter.
They didn't like him now. They're 1 year ahead of the game.
A better football player.
Let's go back to the pick. What this pick does is if you have the best running back in the league lined up behind you, Phillip Rivers now, take it, put it into his belly, pull it back out, and somebody can go to the post, someone can go to the seam route, someone can do a lot of things off of play action, and that's why that speed factor is so much more important, because they offer that play action, the best running back in football. That's what you want.
Remember, McCardell gone, so the wideouts are Parker and Vincent Jackson. Oh, you mean the deal a couple years ago with the Manning Rivers and they got Merriman with it? That would have been a good deal engineered by A.J. Smith and Buddy Nix.
Yes.
We'll be back.
Knees up, elbows, knees up.